A record of a mortal's journey to immortality begins by showing a man named Han Li who has just arrived on a small island with his monkey pet. After observing the conditions around the island, Han dripped green liquid from the jar he was carrying, and it grew a flower that smelled very fragrant. When the fragrant smell of the flowers began to spread, Han used his power to set a kind of trap around the island. The flower scent turned out to attract the attention of a wild monster that appeared to come to the island. Han then activated the trap he had prepared and directly trapped the monster there. The fierce battle between Han and the beast was inevitable. Apart from being very tough, the monster also had the power to regenerate in a short time, so he had a hard time dealing with it. In the end, he managed to overthrow and get the core of the monster, which is bright green. That night, when Han was looking at the full moon, he recalled his past, exactly 200 years ago, when the younger Han overheard his parents talking about a group of bandits called the Wolf Gang attacking their village. Since most of the villagers only worked as farmers, just like Han's parents, they didn't move at all when the bandits attacked and destroyed their village. His parents heard that a martial arts college, the Seven Mysteries Sect, was recruiting people who wanted to become the students of the martial arts college. His father suggested Han register with the sect, hoping he could bring better changes to his family and his village. The next day, Han said goodbye to his mother and younger sister, who gave him a bracelet as a parting gift. In the horse carriage that would take him to the Seven Mysteries Sect, Han met two young men named Jiang Hu and Li Feiyu, who were quite friendly to him. When he almost arrived at the Seven Mysteries Sect, Han met a young man named Wu Yan, who was also about to register for the sect, just like the three of them. However, Wu Yan's attitude was very arrogant, and he often insulted the three of them, so they got into a fight with him. Long story short, they finally arrived at the front gate of the Seven Mysteries Sect, where the other candidates had gathered there. Elder Ma, the exam inspector this time, told all the candidates the rules of the test, in which they would be declared to have passed the exam if they reached the highest peak before the allotted time limit expired. Although it's quite easy, the competition is so tight that it makes Han has a hard time because the candidates try to knock each other down. Even when he was climbing the cliff to the top, one of the participants attacked him and nearly knocked him off the ground. Han and Zhang then worked together to climb a steep cliff, but the leader of the sect named Wang told them they failed because they had passed the allotted time limit. Meanwhile, Wu Yan and 8 other youths passed. However, Han and Zhang were recruited as students by Dr. Mo, who was visiting the elder of the Seven Mysteries Sect. He was very impressed with the struggle and cooperation of the two of them, who never gave up in the face of obstacles in the exam. Under Dr. Mo's guidance and direction, Han and Zhang practiced concocting medicinal pills from the herbs they grew. Because Han was very smart and painstaking in caring for plants, Dr. Mo asked him to take care of his large garden. As time passed, Han and Zhang's friendship became even closer. Zhang is very thoughtful of Han and vice versa. Not only is he good at concocting medicine, but Dr. Mo is also a healer who is quite famous in the area. So many people come there for treatment, where Han and Zhang also help him treat patients. However, Dr. Mo turned out to be seriously ill, so he asked his 2 students to find Lingji mushrooms which were claimed to be able to cure his illness. They rushed to a place believed to be where the mushrooms grew a lot. But when they got there, they met a gang of bandits, the Wolf Gang. When Han and Zhang had difficulty dealing with the Wolf Gang, their old friend, Li Feiyu, suddenly appeared and immediately beat them all up. Feiyu had apparently successfully passed this year's 7 Mysteries Sect entrance exams, and his martial skills had drastically improved. However, Han realized that Feiyu's condition was not okay, even though he evaded and said he was fine. They then parted ways, where Feiyu finally collapsed. Han, who suspected that Feiyu was sick, rushed after him and found him lying on the ground. He knew that Feiyu was actually taking the essence extraction pill, which can increase strength quickly, but the side effect is that it can shorten the lifespan of the person taking it. Han also rushed to heal his friend with makeshift equipment, at least so that Feiyu would no longer feel pain from the pill's side effects. However, when Feiyu's condition had recovered, he even wanted to kill Han because he already knew his secret to passing the entrance exam. After Han promised to keep his mouth shut and help him heal his pain, Feiyu finally let him live. Meanwhile, the leader of the Wolf Gang, a man Jia Tianlong, was scolding his men for entering the Valley of Divine Palm without his permission and was defeated by a student who had just passed the entrance exam. Tianlong looked annoyed by that, but a dwarf man assured him that the incident would not affect the grand plan they had prepared. The scene then switches to the Valley of the Divine Palm, where Dr. Mo checks the results of his students' cultivation practice they've been doing for a year. He saw quite big energy within Han's body and seemed pleased with his rapid progress. However, this was not the case with Jiang, who had not developed at all, so Dr. Mo also gave him more portions of physical exercise to improve his abilities. 3 months later, Dr. Mo said he had to go somewhere to look for rare medicinal herbs and asked his 2 students to train hard while he was away. Since Han had promised to heal his pain, Feiyu visited the Valley of Divine Palm quite often and met up with his friends. Feiyu looked surprised to find out that Dr. Mo didn't teach both Han and Jiang martial arts. The 3 told each other about each other's lives. Jiang revealed that he didn't miss his family because they were all mean to him. Because of this, he not only thought Han and Feiyu his best friends but also considered them his own family. One night, Han dreamed of seeing an urn that glowed bright green. But then, he woke up and found his bedroom window wide open. When he was about to close the window, he saw a bright green light in the distance. Out of curiosity, Han rushed to the light source, which turned out to be a tree in the middle of the forest. Han then checked inside the tree trunk and found an urn that emitted a bright green color. He was curious and tried to open the jar but always failed. Since it was going to rain soon, Han rushed back to Dr. Mo's house and told Jiang what he had found. However, he did not find Jiang anywhere and tried to find him around there. Meanwhile, Jiang seems to be meeting someone in another place, and then his traces disappear. Han, who was looking for Jiang's whereabouts in the forest, accidentally found bloody handprints on a tree trunk and a black pearl on the ground not far from there. The next day, Dr. Mo finally returns from his trip, where Han informs his teacher that Jiang has disappeared. However, Dr. Mo said that Jiang had returned home because he missed his family. Upon hearing that, Han immediately became suspicious because Jiang never missed his family at all. Dr. Mo then introduces a masked man named Iron Slave, who will be tasked with protecting them. When Dr. Mo checked Han's pulse to reckon his strength, Han saw the black pearl bracelet his teacher was wearing and realized that one of the pearls was missing. He became increasingly suspicious of his teacher and Jiang's disappearance. Dr. Mo, knowing that Han didn't show any improvement, seemed very irritated and finally revealed the real reason why he made Han his student. Dr. Mo revealed that his real age was 37 years, much younger than his physical appearance, which looked like he was 70 years old. He said that in the past, he was called Mo Juren, a martial arts master nicknamed Ghost Hands. One day, his enemies worked together to poison him. But with his medical skills, Dr. Mo managed to survive, but the side effect was that his appearance seemed much older than his real age. He says he can only be healed by someone who unblocks his meridians using Forever Spring skills. Dr. Mo had trained many youths to practice this skill, but they all didn't manage to lead the chi power into his body until he finally met Han. But this time, he was disappointed with Han for not having reached stage 4 of that power. Since he only had a year before his death, he forced Han to drink a poison that would allow Han to have the same lifespan like him. Dr. Mo did this to make Han train harder to reach the desired level of strength and heal him on time. With the formulas and elixirs that had been prepared, he told Han to practice hard and make a medicine that could cure them both. Although Han was very irritated by the teacher's selfishness, he had no choice but to make medicine to save both of their lives. That evening, Feiyu visited Han and asked about Jiang's whereabouts. Han informed that Jiang had returned to his family. He then asked Feiyu to teach him martial arts, and he agreed. When he was about to sleep, Han saw the urn emitting a bright green light again. This time, he managed to open the lid of the jar and drip the liquid inside a dry plant pot. The next day, he was surprised to learn that the pot was overgrown with lush plants, which grew very fast in just one night. After that, Han dripped the liquid into a bucket of water and then sprinkled it on the herbs he planted secretly in the forest. He was also very surprised when his garden of herbs could thrive so quickly that he could make a lot of medicine in a short time. While concocting medicine, Han also practiced martial arts under Feiyu's teaching until finally, 6 months later, he reached stage 4 of Forever Spring skills. While practicing somewhere, Han overheard a conversation between Wu Yan and a member of the wolf gang named Jiabo. Despite being a student of the 7 Mysteries sect, Wu Yan turned out to be a spy for the wolf gang. Han rushed to tell Feiyu the topic of their conversation. The topic is about there's a group of horse carriages carrying supplies for the 7 Mysteries sect's martial arts college heading towards the middle of the forest, where the members of the wolf gang were already preparing to attack them, as directed by Wu Yan. Jiabo and his henchmen get rid of the people escorting the convoy, but Li Feiyu then appears with his friends and Han, so they defeat Jiabo and the wolf gang. Jiabo manages to escape, but some of his henchmen are caught by Feiyu for interrogation. Feiyu thanked Han for the information and praised his greatly improved martial skills. 6 months later, after training hard, Han managed to increase his strength to stage 6 and mastered the shifting smoke steps move. He then devises a plan to kill Dr. Mo because he believes the teacher is the mastermind behind Jiang's disappearance. Long story short, Han finally met the teacher and said he had reached stage 4. However, they got into a fierce fight instead because Dr. Mo planned to kill him. At first, Han could fight the teacher, but Dr. Mo gave his signature technique, Ghost Hands, which was poisonous, to make Han could be easily defeated. After that, Dr. Mo and Iron Slave took Han to a place where he would perform a soul transfer ritual. Dr. Mo turns out to be planning to destroy Han's soul and transfer his soul to Han's body. But since Han had reached stage 6 without his knowledge, his efforts were completely wasteless and instead destroyed his soul in the process. Han finally wakes up to find that Dr. Mo is dead. Knowing that he had been poisoned, he rushed to find the antidote in Dr. Mo's room. But he didn't find the antidote and instead found a wooden box that contained a scroll of parchment, an iron bell, and a manual for reaching all stages of Forever Spring skills, which is actually an immortality cultivation method. However, just as Han was about to leave, he was attacked by the Iron Slave. He accidentally dropped the iron bell and was surprised to find that the Iron Slave responded to the sound of the bell and stopped attacking it. He finally realized that the Iron Slave was following the orders of the iron bell. Out of curiosity, Han then took off the Iron Slave mask and was very surprised to find out that Iron Slave turned out to be Jiang, who had been controlled by Dr. Mo like a puppet. Han then unrolled the parchment and realized that Jiang had been controlled by the human puppet move and would forever serve someone who rubs his blood on its face, even if that person is dead. Because of that, he finally rubs his blood on Jiang's face and changes his name to Quhun. Han then found a letter written by his teacher, which stated that the antidote was kept by his wife, who was in Jiaoyuan City. In the letter, Dr. Mo asks him to bring the letter to his wife, and she will give the antidote to him. His teacher also suggested Han travel worldwide to discover new things that might increase his cultivation power. Even though Dr. Mo tried to kill him and snatch his body, he still considered Dr. Mo his teacher, whom he respected the most. In the following year, Han tried to train harder, concocting medicine from all the books he found in Dr. Mo's study, but he was still unable to cure himself of the Ghost Hands poison. Since Dr. Mo died, Han took over his position of treating people who were sick and injured due to war. Moreover, the Wolf Gang was increasingly attacking various villages, and the Seven Mysteries sect was already having a hard time dealing with them. As time went on, Han continued to practice increasing his cultivation power using the manual he found in the late master's possessions. He reached stage 8 and mastered the controlling objects and fireball techniques, which were extremely powerful and very useful in combat. But the more Han learned about the cultivation, the more he understood the world's cruelty. To cultivators, mortals were like ants, and that really pissed Han off. Meanwhile, in Jiaoyuan City, Dr. Mo's daughter, Mo Chahuan, looked worried because she had not received any news from her father, especially after her father set her up for a man she had never met. One night, Han saw a fire blazing from the direction of the Seven Mysteries Sect's college. Worried about Feiyu's well-being, he and Quhun rushed over there. In another place, there was a fierce battle between the Wolf Gang and the Seven Mysteries sect led by Elder Ma. However, they were forced to back off after being outnumbered by the Wolf Gang. On the other hand, Feiyu, who had been surrounded by members of the Wolf Gang, was finally rescued by Han, and they rushed to the Seven Mysteries sect's college. Meanwhile, Leader Wang and the leader of the Wolf Gang, Jia Tianlong, decided to have a one-on-one life and death battle to determine victory between the two sides. At the same time, Han and Feiyu finally arrived at the college and were about to witness a one-on-one duel between the dwarf man from the Wolf Gang nicknamed the Golden Light Monk against the best martial artist in the Seven Mysteries Sect College, Master Gu. However, Han immediately realized that the dwarf man was a cultivator, while Master Gu was just an ordinary martial arts master, so the dwarf man could easily defeat him. When the Golden Light Monk was about to wipe them all out with his strength, Han didn't just stand still. Han, who had a cultivation power that far surpassed that of the Midget Man, then finished off the man and asked Tianlong and his henchmen to leave the place. However, Tianlong heeded Han's warning and ordered his men to attack the sect. He once again warned Tianlong to back off, but because Tianlong persisted in fighting back, he was forced to exterminate the man with his cultivation power. Seeing this, everyone ran helter-skelter away from that place because they thought he was a demon. The next day, Han tells Feiyu that he is going on an adventure and prescribes medicine to suppress the side effects of the essence extraction pills he often takes to increase his stamina. Han then heads to Jiaoyuan City with Quhun to get the antidote from Dr. Mo's wife. That night, Dr. Mo's daughter, Mo Chahuan, appeared to be at odds with her fiancé after finding out that the man had lied by claiming to be her father's student to marry her and gain the family fortune. Not long after, Han and Quhun arrived there to rescue Chahuan. They introduced themselves as Dr. Mo's students while handing Dr. Mo's letter to his wife. However, his wife locked Han up and said that he was the one who killed her husband. He doesn't deny that and says he had to kill Dr. Mo because he wanted to kill him first. His wife seemed to believe Han's explanation and finally freed him. The woman said that she would give the antidote to Han as long as he was willing to marry Chai Huan and become the heir of the Mo family. Of course, Han refused because his teacher asked him to travel worldwide. He then offered a solution to protect the Mo family so that he could go on an adventure to increase his cultivation power. Han then ordered Qiu Hun to protect the Mo family no matter what, while he would head to the Great South Valley, where people claimed that cultivators were often there. Before leaving, Han gave Dr. Mo's medical book to his daughter. After taking the antidote, he reached stage 9 with great ease and rushed to the Great South Valley. But before that, he thought about stopping by his house, which happened to be in the same direction as the Great South Valley. On the way, Han met a man named Wan Xiaoshan, who was selling medicinal plants to the villagers. He then asked Xiaoshan the way to the Great South Valley, who just so happened to be heading there for the Great South meeting. Xiaoshan apparently realized Han was a cultivator, just like himself, and praised him for possessing considerable cultivation power. He thought that Han must have a high level of spiritual roots. Han didn't know much about cultivation, so Xiaoshan explained that each cultivator had a different level of spiritual roots. Spiritual roots can be categorized into gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. Spiritual roots with only one attribute are known as heavenly spiritual roots, which can greatly accelerate the cultivation rate. Xiaoshan then explained several cultivation realms: the Qi condensation, foundation establishment, core formation and nascent soul, deity transformation, and others. Mortals, who can reach the nascent soul realm, could live up to over 1,000 years. Han and Xiaoshan then stopped by the village where the Han family lived, and they saw Han's younger sister having a wedding party. After his family goes to the wedding, Han sneaks into his house secretly. He remembers his past with his family. Han then left a bag of money, medicine, and the bracelet his sister gave him there. Han seemed unable to hold back his tears as he realized he might never see his family again after dedicating his life to being a cultivator. Long story short, Han and Xiaoshan finally arrived at the Great South Valley, which was always covered in fog to prevent the mortals from entering the territory of cultivators who called themselves immortals. Han appeared to be in awe the first time he entered the realm of the immortals filled with wonders. They then met with 3 friends, a man named Wu Juji who stole for fun, the Taoist priest was named Qing Wen, and a woman was named Hu Pinggu. In the territory of the immortals, they have a fairly unique trading system, where they do not use money as a means of payment but use spiritual stones or energy-restoring elixirs. Han was lucky enough that he made many energy-restoring pills to buy the complete edition of the Forever Spring Skills Manual, as it turned out that the book Dr. Mo had was only the first edition. Han then bought a broken magic treasure fragment from a girl named Yunji to hide his precious green jar, even though he got into a small argument with a man named Lu Yunfeng. However, they were soon separated by Yunfeng's girlfriend, Qiao Qian. After that, Yunji offered the golden sincerity brush to write a talisman and the manual to Han, who was finally interested in buying it. He finally found out that the little black thing he found after killing the dwarf man from the wolf gang was the immortal token, which was quite rare and very valuable, and he was very grateful for having managed to get it so easily. After that, Han and the immortals entered the Immortal Ascension Assembly area, where the spiritual roots of the candidates would be tested, and whoever successfully passed the test would be qualified to enter the 7 sects. In that test, Yunfeng passed because he had unique spiritual roots, as did his girlfriend. However, not so with Han and Xiaoshan, who had to fail the test. That night, when Han was resting on a tree, he saw Xiaoshan running fast as if he was trying to save himself from someone. Xiaoshan was poisoned by the 3 friends who had previously been very friendly to them. Han managed to defeat 2 of them, but a man named Qing Wen managed to escape. However, Xiaoshan was not saved. Han buried and prayed for him properly before continuing his journey to the Yellow Maple Valley. He was determined to train his cultivation power so that he could become stronger to survive in this cruel world. Han finally arrived at Yellow Maple Valley, where he later met a man named Master Wu, who invited him to board the flying boat. New students in Yellow Maple Valley, including Han, were entitled to several items to support their training. One of them was the Azure Leaf Magic Tool, which could help them soar in the air as the entire Yellow Maple Valley area was floating in the sky. After that, Master Wu gave a foundation establishment elixir to Han because he had the immortal token. Han, who realized his spiritual roots were poor, thought of a way to build a foundation because a single foundation establishment pill was not enough. Han then looked at the bulletin board, where one of them mentioned a job in the herb field. Hoping to find a plant he could use to make foundation establishment pills, he planned to go there. But on the way, he met Yunfeng, who turned out to be a student there. Yunfeng then tried to snatch his foundation establishment pill. For one reason or another, Han finally had to give up the pill to Yunfeng's master. The next day, after Han met with the sect leader, he overheard a conversation between Yunfeng and a girl named Suan, in which Yunfeng turned out to be looking down on him for having poor spiritual roots. But he didn't mind it because right now, he just wanted to focus on making foundation establishment pills to increase his cultivation power. Han then went to the 100 Opportunity Hall to take care of the herb garden under Master Ma's guidance. After convincing Master Ma with his knowledge of medicinal plants, Han finally managed to win the old man's trust to take care of the herb garden. He also asked Master Ma about chalcedony mushrooms and violet monkey flower, 2 herbs that are usually used to make foundation pills. However, Master Ma told him the herbs were not planted in his garden because they could only grow in the blood-forbidden ground. 3 years later, Han's knowledge of medicinal plants has grown even more under the guidance of Master Ma, who is very considerate of him. He also received useful training and advice from Master Wu, who always helped him when he was in trouble. Meanwhile, he started planting his herbs in the secluded area near the herb garden and used a drop of water from his green urn to grow the plants in no time. Han kept trying to make foundation establishment pills but always failed because he didn't have the 2 essential herbs that were the main ingredients of the pills. He realized that he couldn't help but go to the blood-forbidden ground, which only opened once every 60 years. Because of that, Han met one of his seniors, an old man named Song Jili, who had attended the trial of the Forbidden Ground. Song explained that the Forbidden Ground used to be a treasured place abundant in spiritual energy, where all kinds of rare spiritual herbs grew. But because of human greed, the herbs were getting fewer, so there was a great battle over rare medicinal plants for more than 100 years. The fierce battle almost threatened the future of the cultivation world. Therefore, the 7 sects initiated a plan, adding a powerful restriction on the ground, and every 60 years, it had opened for only 5 days for trial. Song says that there are also demonic beasts guarding the area where the rarest herbs grow, and the only way to survive in the Forbidden Ground and win the trial is to have wisdom and courage. In the evening, Han walks around the city disguised as Feiyu, where he buys some magic artifacts that he can use in battle. After that, he caught Yunfeng trying to harass his girlfriend and stealing Han's foundation pill, which the girl kept. The two then engaged in a fierce battle, in which Han could now match Yunfeng's strength, and finally managed to defeat him. After taking his foundation pill, Han burned Yunfeng's body to remove traces, then gave Yunfeng's girlfriend a memory-busting pill. After Han returned to Yellow Maple Valley, Master Ma visited his room and gave him energy-restoring pills, knowing that he would join the Forbidden Ground trial. The next day, Han had gathered with other students who were going to take part in the trial and headed to the Forbidden Ground by riding the spiritual python issued by Master Li. The man explained to his students that they were equipped with tracking devices to indicate their respective positions while in the Forbidden Ground. He warned that the Forbidden Ground was always filled with fog, but after 3 days, the fog would dissipate, and they could start a quest to find the rare herbs they wanted. Once there, Han met cultivators from other sects, including Yuji, the girl who had sold him several items, who had now joined the Spiritual Beast Mountain sect. Not long after, Han recognized one of the women from the Masked Moon sect, the toughest among the Great 7 sects, who was the core formation elder who hosted the Immortal Ascension Assembly that he had attended some time ago. The next day, after all the leaders of the 7 sects had gathered, they combined their strengths to open the gates to the Forbidden Ground. The students rushed in there when the Forbidden Ground seal was opened for the benefit of the trial. Han arrived at a meadow, and according to the map Master Li had given him, Han noticed that some rare herbs were growing in the meadow and rushed to pick them up. But then, he noticed someone's presence and went into hiding. Not long after, he saw a man from another sect who was also about to pick some rare herbs. However, that man was then attacked by 2 men from the Spiritual Beast Mountain sect. Without a second thought, the 2 men instantly killed their target, at which point Han finally found out that they weren't actually part of the Spiritual Beast Mountain and looked like bandits who liked to kill people recklessly. After that, he continued his journey and found the bodies of several other cultivators, whom he suspected had been killed by the 2 earlier. Meanwhile, fierce battles between sect members for territory are inevitable, resulting in no small number of casualties. Knowing that things might not be safe for a while, Han hid until the thick fog cleared on the 3rd day. The next day, a female student from the Yellow Maple Valley seemed to be having a hard time dealing with her enemy, so she asked Han help, who happened to be nearby. Han then came out of hiding and helped the girl. However, their opponent turned out to be quite challenging, so he seemed overwhelmed by the opponent, who was a woman. When the woman was about to launch a deadly attack on Han and his companion, suddenly, a man stabbed the woman in the back, killing her. That man was none other than Feng Yue, one of the most dangerous cultivators that Han had to be wary of. Frightened by Feng Yue, Han's companion fled but ended up being killed by Feng Yue. Han and Feng Yue then engaged in a fierce battle, in which he finally defeated Feng Yue and took the man's magic artifacts, namely shoes that could increase the wearer's speed and also a golden parchment that seemed so mysterious. Seeing Han, who had managed to defeat Feng Yue, the two men from Spiritual Beast Mountain then charged forward to attack him. However, he immediately runs away from them and accidentally runs into Yunji, who helps him hide. She then revealed to him that she didn't know the two men at all, even though they were from the same sect. On the other hand, the leaders of the 7 sects were monitoring the students outside the gates of the Forbidden Ground, and it was odd to find out that the trial had claimed many lives even though it had only been held for 2 days. After that, Yunji told Han that her goal in joining the trial of the Forbidden Ground was to obtain the rare herb Sun Divine Flower that could heal her brother. Han then brought Yunji to the center area, which he believed was the plant's location. But when they got there, they met Jiang Hu, where Han then fought the man's spiritual beast. The fight was finally stopped when they agreed to exchange maps, as the 7 sects had different maps of the Forbidden Ground from each other. After observing for a moment the map of each sect, Han and Yunji were finally allowed to pass by Jiang Hu and headed to the center area. On the other hand, the Masked Moon sect was seen entering an area of the Forbidden Ground to retrieve an extremely rare blue herb. The elder managed to take the herbs and rushed away from there even when many of their members were killed there. On the 3rd day, when the fog cleared, Han and Yunji rushed to find the Sun Divine Flower in the area. However, they were surprised by the presence of 2 troublesome men from Spiritual Beast Mountain, who knew about their whereabouts after receiving information from Jiang Hu. Han was also involved in a fight against those men, and it seemed quite difficult because they were pretty tough. However, he finally defeated them and obtained the Sun Divine Flower. Yunji was very grateful to him for helping her get a rare herb that could heal her brother. After that, Yunji said goodbye to Han and immediately left from there. Since he still had to find the spiritual divine fruit and the chalcedony mushroom to refine the Foundation Establishment pill concoction, Han rushed to the Stone Hall, which was the last place he had not been to. On the other hand, the Masked Moon sect members were also heading to the Stone Hall, as well as Jiang Hu, who had arrived there first. Seeing the arrival of the Masked Moon sect, Han rushed to hide there. When Han finally arrived at the bottom of the Stone Hall, he was surprised by an area that contained a chest that seemed to be covered in tremendous spiritual energy. Not long after, he heard the sound of approaching footsteps, so he decided to hide. The members of the Masked Moon sect arrived there. Then they formed a formation while the elder approached the chest and tried to open it. But then, the black scale python monsters attacked them barbarously, breaking down their defenses. On the other hand, Jiang Hu had purposely sealed the underground entrance to trap Han and the Masked Moon sect so they couldn't get out of there. The elder realized that what attacked them was not the black scale python but the black dragon, which was a very tough monster. They then formed a formation to defend themselves while looking for a way out of there, but their efforts were in vain. The members of the Masked Moon sect were massacred by the monster, leaving only the elder alive. While trying to escape the monster's pursuit, the elder saw Han's presence and told him to go immediately if he didn't want to be killed. But Han decided to save the elder, who was almost killed by the black dragon. A fierce battle ensued between them, but the demonical beast was too strong for them. Because of that, they worked together to stop the black dragon because the elder had almost reached the limit and might not be able to last much longer. The elder then took the spirit of the black dragon, while Han could possess the dragon's body, where all the organs and blood of the black dragon could be considered a priceless treasure. Han then took what he believed to be the core of the dragon and showed it to the elder. However, something strange happened between them. It feels like they were trapped by their respective desires. Han finally returned to his senses and clearly remembered what happened between him and the elder. And turned out it lasted for hours, so they were running out of time to get back to the gate before time ended. The elder then explains that it is the testicle of the black dragon and can set out aphrodisiac gas once a female approaches it. She asked Han to forget everything that happened between them because it was an accident. The woman then took the contents of the wooden chest while Han plucked all the rare herbs that grew there, including several varieties of herbs he wanted. On the other hand, the sect leaders were preparing to close the gates as they had almost reached the allotted time limit of 5 days. Yunji, who managed to get out of the Forbidden Ground, looked worried when she found out that Han was nowhere to be seen, as were Master Li and the other students. Meanwhile, Han and the elder, who managed to break Jiang Hu's seal, finally rushed away from the Forbidden Ground. Han asked the elder's name. The woman then told him that her name was Nonggong Wan and asked him to keep everything that happened between them a secret. They finally managed to get out of the place on time and then returned home to their respective colleges. Han then reported about the 2 men claiming to be from the Spiritual Beast Mountain sect to Master Li. Arriving at the Yellow Maple Valley, Han immediately rushed to make a Foundation Establishment pill with the rare herbs he had obtained at the Forbidden Ground. Afterward, he went to the Earth Fire Room to burn the pills. However, some of his homemade pills turned out to be broken. Han did not lose heart and continued to roast the pill until it was finished. He then swallowed all of the Foundation establishment pills. Still, he did not feel any changes in his body until finally, Han swallowed the last pill and felt a tremendous spiritual power as if it had just awakened within him. But because of that, Han became exhausted and finally passed out. Not long after, he finally woke up and began practicing the Qing Yuan sword technique. Then he managed to reach stage 4. After that, Han meets Master Wu, who congratulates him on reaching the Foundation establishment and tells him to report to the sect leader. Because his achievements were quite brilliant and very fast, the sect leader praised Han and gave him a map of the Huangfeng Valley so that he could find his own cave. After that, Han met Yunfeng's girlfriend, who seemed to remember what happened that night, but he tried to ignore her. The scene then switched and showed the atmosphere of a great war, which turned out to be a nightmare for Chahuan. It turned out that she was no longer in her house in Jiayuan City but was now living in the Yan family fort. However, it has not been explained further about what happened to Chahuan, so now we will turn back to Han, who has managed to find a suitable cave for his home. Inside the cave, there is a natural spiritual spring, and the scenery is very beautiful. In the late stages of cave construction, Han needed a stronger defensive formation because his formation was considered very weak. That's why he went to the city to obtain a formidable defensive formation as he wished. On the other hand, Master Wu was secretly observing Master Ye, who turned out to be having a secret meeting with Jiang Hu of the Spiritual Beast Mountain Sect. Master Wu immediately suspected that Master Ye had betrayed and conspired with Jiang. However, Master Wu's whereabouts were already known to them. Master Ye then used the puppet's high-level stance and mobilized all of the puppets to chase him. On the other hand, Han, who had obtained the defensive formation and some magic artifacts from the Black Dragon, rushed back to his cave. But on the way, he saw Master Wu, who was in trouble and immediately helped him fight Master Ye's puppets' attack. But because of too many of them, they were overwhelmed and tried to escape from there. After escaping from Master Ye's pursuit, Master Wu then told Han about the 6 Devil Dao sects that had been trying to take them down, where he suspected that Master Ye and Jiang Hu were their spies and assumed that the other sects had also been infiltrated by them. However, upon their arrival at Han's cave, Master Ye apparently didn't let them get away with it and managed to follow them there. So he rushed over to use the defensive formation he had just obtained. While Han focused on the defensive formation, Master Wu tried to block the attacks from Master Ye and his puppets. Due to suffering from very severe injuries, Master Wu finally died. Meanwhile, Master Ye tried to destroy Han's defensive formation and wanted to kill him. However, his attempt was thwarted by a man named Lei Wanhei, who was a high-level master cultivator. Master Lei, who had defeated Master Ye with a single blow, had apparently discovered the presence of spies within their sect. He asked Han to keep everything that happened a secret while investigating secretly so there would be no uproar within their sect. After taking some of Master Ye's belongings, Han buried Master Wu properly because that man had treated him well during his stay in Yellow Maple Valley. After that, we will be transported to the past, where we can see Jiang Hu partying with his minions before joining the trial of the Forbidden Ground. A masked man called Young Master by Jiang Hu came not long after, and Jiang Hu seemed to respect the man greatly. The young master then put out a move that put everyone to sleep except for Jiang Hu, where they then discussed their plans to incite some people within the 7 sects and target the most influential people there. Switch to the present, exactly 1 year after the trial of the Forbidden Ground, where Han is seen practicing the puppet technique that Master Ye once mastered. Han also practiced several techniques to increase his cultivation power. Meanwhile, at the Yan family fort, the leader of the Yan family, a man named Yan Yan, seemed disappointed that some of his henchmen had not been able to obtain the rare herbs needed to cure his daughter, Yaner. But then, Yan Yan met with a male cultivator who claimed to be able to heal Yaner because he had a technique that could make her awaken again. The man turned out to be the young master that Jiang Hu met and was identified as Wang Chan. Wang then communicated with Yen Yen via telepathy, where they seemed to have known each other before. In another place, Han goes to Master Li to report on Master Ye's attack. It turns out he already knows about it from Master Lei and compliments Han for his proper action. Master Li then told Han that the Yan family would hold a treasure-seizing assembly, where they invited representatives from all 7 sects to come. Because of that, Master Li sent Han and a female cultivator named Suaner to attend the assembly. He asked Han to protect Suaner because her enchantment skills could get her into trouble. Even though his cultivation strength wasn't as great as the other senior students, Han promised to do his best to protect Suaner. After that, Master Li asked Han to choose one of the techniques he wanted to learn, and he took a silver parchment. Meanwhile, in the Yan family fort, the technique used by Wang turned out to be to absorb other people's life energy to give it to Yaner. As her condition gradually recovered, her father began to believe in the methods used by Wang, even though they were quite extreme. One of his henchmen later informed that Wang wanted to marry Yan if she had fully recovered, but Yan immediately rejected it because the marriage would put the Yan family in big trouble. Moreover, Yan was the only cultivator in the Yan family who had heavenly spiritual roots for the past 200 years, which should benefit the Yan family, as they could rival the might of the Great Seven Sects. Later, one of Yan's henchmen, a man named Liu, turned out to have previously conspired with Wang, and he promised 100 spiritual stones if Liu was willing to introduce him to Yan. Liu immediately agreed to his request and asked for it after Wang and Yan agreed to heal Yan. However, Wang instead wanted to kill Liu because he thought the man would betray him by reporting his plans to the Great Seven Sects, so a fierce battle was inevitable. On the other hand, Liu, who had been anticipating an attack by Wang, then told one of his henchmen to reveal everything to Yan if he did not return safely within 3 hours of his meeting with Wang. In the end, Wang managed to defeat Liu, killing him. After that, Wang met Yan and revealed himself to be the son of the Ghost Spirit Sect leader, and announced his plan to reunite the Yan family with the Ghost Spirit Sect and defeat the Great Seven Sects. Yan seemed to be considering the plan that Wang had prepared and seemed to be agreeing to the plan because he had ambitions to make the Yan family above the Great Seven Sects. The scene then switches and shows Han, who managed to merge the gold and silver parchments he had obtained. The two parchments turned out to be fused and were parchments that contained Qing Yuan's sword techniques. After absorbing all these techniques, Han and Suan are prepared to go to the assembly. On the way there, Suan tries to seduce Han with her charm, but Han ignores her and warns her not to use her charm on anyone because it is very dangerous. Suan seemed annoyed that Han didn't pay attention to her and then insulted him for his poor spiritual roots, but he didn't mind it because it was true. Arriving at the Yan family fort, Han stumbled across the Mo family's drugstore, which reminded him of Chai Huan. Meanwhile, Suan had instead used her charms to lure all the boys she met, ignoring Han's warnings. On the other hand, Wang seemed interested in Suan, who had a natural enchantment technique in her body. All eyes were on her when she was strolling through the city. Realizing that someone was watching them, Han rushed to take Suan away from there, where they clashed because she was not happy with his overprotective attitude. After getting into a small fight with him, she decided to leave. While Han was looking for the woman, he stopped by the Mo family's drugstore and found Chai Huan. She looked very happy when she finally got to meet him again after so long. However, she then felt sad after telling him what happened to her family in Jiayuan City, where her mother was killed by a band of robbers, and Ku Hun was nowhere to be found. Hearing this, Han seemed to sympathize with Chai Huan and promised to investigate what really happened. After that, he tried to find the whereabouts of Suan, who was almost kidnapped by Wang. When Han was about to fight him, Wang fled because he heard many guards coming. Han then took Suan to rest at a motel while healing her because Wang had used a special technique to immobilize her. Before they went to sleep, Han put up a shield around their room to prevent further assault or attempted kidnapping of Suan. The next day, they and other cultivators from the Great Seven Sects seemed enthusiastic about attending the assembly. However, Han realized that there were oddities there, one of which was that when they came there, it was not to attend the assembly but for a wedding party between Wang and Yan. Han, who saw Wang's greenish index finger, immediately knew that he was a spy from the Demon Sect, just like the two men claiming to be from the Spirit Beast Mountain Sect, who also had such greenish fingers. Han then told Suan that Wang was the one who wanted to kidnap her last night. Knowing that everyone was already at the appointed place, Wang created a spiritual barrier that suppressed all of their cultivation power, making it unusable, and began to absorb the life energy of the people inside. On the other hand, Han did not stay silent and tried to destroy the spiritual barrier. Han, Suan and other cultivators managed to escape from there, where they then had to face off against Wang's henchmen and soldiers from the Yan family. Seeing Han and Suan had escaped and fled, Wang released his strength to chase after them. In the middle of the escape, they met Chai Huan, who told them to hide in her place. With her help, they managed to leave the Yan family fort via a secret passage that led to the desert. On the other hand, Wang told Yan that his daughter would soon wake up because Yan had already absorbed a lot of life energy. After that, Wang rushed after Han and the others. Going back to Han, he realized that Wang had known the escape route and had caught up with them. He rushed over to tell Chai Huan to get out of there while he and Suan would fight Wang. Wang then revealed to them that the assembly and marriage were a ploy to lure the arrival of great cultivators from the Great Seven Sects, with his planning to absorb all of their life energy to heal Yan. He also praised Han for knowing the plan, so he managed to escape all the way there. Han also asked what he wanted, but he didn't tell them what he wanted and attacked them immediately. A fierce battle ensued between them, in which Wang then created a spiritual barrier to make it difficult for Han and Suoner to move. But before that, Han quickly threw Suoner out of there, before they were completely trapped in the barrier. Han and Wang were also involved in a fierce duel, in which Wang then issued his signature move, Heavenly Ghost. However, Han managed to fend off Wang's attack. He counterattacked using Qing Yuan's sword technique and broke down Heavenly Ghost's defenses. Han then attacked Wang with a smoke bomb that had been laced with poison, so Wang decided to flee from there. However, Han turned out to be badly injured from the Heavenly Ghost's attack, so he fell to the ground. Not long after, Chai Huan arrived there and rushed to help Han. After that, they arrived at a place where he was about to say goodbye to her. He told her that Wang had been exposed to the poison and that it was impossible for him to survive because he didn't have the antidote. Han didn't say his destination and instead asked Chai Huan to follow the caravan heading to the royal capital. He told her to take care of herself. Chai Huan hugged him and said she wanted to be a cultivator so she could always be by his side. Han ignored Chai Huan's wishes and hurried away from there. Meanwhile, elsewhere, one of Wang's henchmen reported to someone that they had taken control of the Yan family fort. Shortly afterward, a large army was shown that had been prepared to attack the Great Seven Sects, and the first season of the Donghua series ended. The moral we can learn this time is to keep trying to achieve our goals and realize our dreams, even though we experience difficult circumstances. As long as you have a strong determination and the courage to take risks, nothing is impossible in this life.